What's up guys, today we're going to be speedrunning and ranking 69 IEMs. We're going to cap the price from $200 to $350, sales included. We're going to do this in alphabetic order. There's a lot of them, so I can't really get into too deep for a single one, but check out the review if you need more info. Let's get into it. Starting with the 7Hz Timeless tube, this is a balanced all-rounder kind of sound. It's pretty smooth in the treble. It has a lot of variety with the tuning nozzles. It goes from a warm, good scaling set to a more all-rounded with a more, vocal pop. Overall, technical performance wise, it's still pretty valid in 2026, and the price is also pretty good. You can get these probably under $200. So yeah, these are still a wreck even now. But unfortunately, I can't say the same for the 7Hz Aurora. This is a more bright leaning, very energetic, very in your face kind of treble presentation. It's a bit sharp, it's a bit peaky. It is quote unquote very dynamic and very, I guess, resolving in the transients. The detail is very good, but the downside is it's gonna be a little bit fatiguing, a little bit too sharp, not the best all-rounded kind of sound. And for the price of $400, I do think that it is a bit expensive. So if you do like treble, if you like a treble head, wait for these to go on sale. If you're not, there are better options for most people. Moving on, we got some full IEM, starting with the Performer 5. This has a slight V-shaped sound. It's a good all-rounder. It's dynamic. It's got a pretty punchy, low end. The treble is well extended. The vocals are also, enough. It's not the most natural and smoothest in the sound, but if you're looking for like a, slightly engaging all-rounder sound, these are still pretty good on sale. I would get these for maybe like $180 to $160. That would be a pretty good price for these. After those, we got the Performer 5+2. This is a very hyped set. A lot of people like these. I think they are a little bit overhyped. They're basically a neutral, balanced, leaning kind of sound signature with a slight pop when it comes to the treble. I do think the treble, the timbre is a bit metallic, not the most, natural presentation. And overall, the tonality is not that engaging to me personally. It is more balanced kind of sound, right? So if that's your thing, I would wait for these to go on sale. They are pretty technical for the price. Next, we got the AFUL Performer 8. These are a very neutral IEM. Think of a straight line, good for monitoring. It's very spacious, very wide, detail layering, all very good. But it's just not very musical in my opinion. I'm gonna say there are just a lot of better options nowadays if you want like a clean balanced sound, which I'll talk about later. Like unless you want a very neutral playback, I would personally pass on these and just go for something else. Then finally, we got the new Performer 8S. This is basically the Performer 8, but with a little bit more low end and less treble, just a little bit smoother overall. So it scales a little bit better. It's a little bit more musical than the original PA. I do like these a little bit more than the original, but again, for the price, it's $390. I think it's a little bit pricey. I would personally wait for these to go on sale for maybe like $300. Moving on, we got the Binary EP321. This is going right to the top here because for a balanced, clean all-rounder sound, these are very natural. They feel very realistic in the timbre. The treble is smooth enough, but also it has the transients. It's well extended, it's airy, it's spacious. You have very good technical performance from these. Overall, if you're looking for a balanced sound that's not too boring, vanilla, these would be a very good option. I bought these myself, so I'm not just shilling these. I have no affiliations with them. I actually shadow banned by Hi-Fi Go, right? So yeah, these are actually a pretty good IEM. And then as for its younger brother, the DYNAQUATTROs, these are a more bassier, all-rounder kind of sound. They have that bass slam, the impact, the authority, but the vocals still pop out enough. It could use more treble, detail, air, whatever you want to call it, but for the sound that it's going for, I think it's pretty enjoyable. I would get these on sale, but I get it if you buy it retail. I think it's still fine, but I would say wait for these to go on sale. Moving on, we got some DUNU IEMs, and starting with the 142s. These are a slight V-shaped sound. It's fun, it's engaging, the transients are good, it has some contrast. The main issue is that the treble peak could be a little bit sharp sometimes. It's basically a less refined version of the KIWIEARS Astrals. If I were to pick, I would personally just get the Astrals. It just does the treble better. The bass texture also slams a little bit harder, but these are $50 cheaper, so for the price, I think they are still pretty decent. Personally, I would go for the Astro, so I would, really wait for these to go on sale. Next, we got the GIZ-AUDIO collab, the DaVinci's. These are a bassy, kind of like thick, more warmer kind of tonality. I guess you can say they're musical in the sound. They're not as technical as they should be for $300, which is my main nitpick, I guess. I would personally wait for these to go on sale around the same as the DYNAQUATTROs. Then after those, we got the 242s. These are a more neutral, balanced, cleaner, more vocal centric IEM. They remind me of the 5+2, the P8s, the binary EP321s. Personally, I would still go for the 321s. I think value wise, tonality wise, it's just more natural, it's better balanced. Technical performance wise, they're around the same, and it is a lot cheaper. So I'm gonna say there are just better options available at this price. But if you really do want that sound, I guess you can get these on sale. Personally, I would go for something else. Then lastly, we got the DUNU VULKAN 2s. These are actually probably the most neutral set on this list, even more neutral than the P8s, because they don't have any low end. Like, they just completely cut out the sub bass. I don't know why, but it was a choice, and because of that, it is more vocal centric. The issue is that you can actually get a lot of great vocal sets for a lot cheaper. For example, the binary EP321 I think just does this a lot better and cheaper as well. So definitely I would skip on these. They're just much better options. Moving on, we got the ELYSIAN PILGRIM. This is the OG balanced, clean, all-rounder kind of sound. They were very popular back in the day. I think these are still pretty decent if you can find them on sale for, around 300 bucks, around the same as the binary EP321. I do prefer the binary a little bit more, but the build, construction, I guess the accessories are better on the Pilgrim, and tech, they're around the same. So yeah, get these on sale. They're still pretty decent if you want a clean balanced sound. After those, we got the EPZ K9s. These have a all-rounder, slightly bassy, slightly warm kind of sound. They're pretty smooth. They remind me of like a smoother, warmer Harman 2019 without the upper mid shout. So if you're looking for a good all-rounder that works well with a lot of genres, I think the K9s are still pretty good in 2026, even without it going on sale. Moving on, we got the FATFREQ HBB DUSK. If you want a sub-bass oriented bass set kind of listen, these are still the go-to at around 200 bucks. They are fun, the clarity is good, the bass isn't muddy, it doesn't get in the way of the vocals, it also scales pretty good, it's pretty smooth. Basically, for a bass head, it checks off a lot of the boxes. The only main issue is that FATFREQ had some delivery issues with the initial rollout, so I would watch out for that. Maybe buy it from like Linso or somewhere else. But aside from that, these are a very fun bass headset, and they are still pretty good in 2026. However, I can't say the same for the HISENIOR CRISTALES. These are an aggressive V-shaped kind of sound. They're pretty energetic, pretty peaky when it comes to the treble. I think the treble could be more refined, could be smoother for the sound to really work. There are just a lot of better options, especially at $400 custom BAs. Like, I don't know what they're doing at that price. For me, this is gonna be a skip. You can find much better stuff at, even like 100, 150 bucks. But after those, we got the IO SOGNOs. These are basically Harman 2019, but very smooth, clean, balanced sound as expected of Harman 2019. I don't know why you would pay $400 or $350 for these. I would just get the Supermix 4 or the Nova for like what, 2 times, 3 times cheaper. Like, I don't really understand the pricing around these. Like, they look nice, I guess. I would skip these. They're much better options even if you want a Harman 2019 sound. Next, we got the JUZEAR HARRIER, and these are a mid-centric IEM. They're very good for acoustics, ballads. You really gotta scale these up because they sound a little bit lifeless at mid to lower volumes. They just don't sound that good. It does need scaling, but the main issue is, even with some scaling, the detail, the technical performance, resolution, whatever you want to call it, it's not on par with the competition at around 300 bucks. So because of that, I'm gonna say wait for these to go on sale for around $250. At that point, I think they are a pretty decent option. Then as for the 61Ts, this has a warmer, smoother, kind of laid back approach to the sound. I guess you can say they are quote-unquote musical, but the main issue is that the bass section on these feel a bit soft. They feel not that texture and tactile, and for the price, I would definitely get the DYNAQUATTROs. So to me, these should be cheaper than the DYNAQUATTROs. So I would wait for these to go on sale for around like $150. And then lastly, we got the A1Ts. This has a cleaner, more balanced all-rounder sound. They're very similar to Harman 2019. They're not as expensive as the SOGNOs. So like, I guess if you want a Harman 2019 like sound, I guess these are pretty solid if it goes on sale, because again, for around 250-ish, they're just better options in my opinion at that price range. But moving on, we got some KIWIEARS stuff, and starting out with the KE4s. These have a warmer, I guess like a meta inspired tuning. They have that airiness in the treble, but it's also warm. It's pretty musical in the overall sound. You can get these on sale for like 170 to 160. Even retail, I think they're not the most technical, but they're still enjoyable in the tonality. It's still pretty musical. It's still pretty like engaging when it comes to the scaling. So I'm gonna say these still get my rec, but try to get these on sale. After those, we got the KIWIEARS Quintet. These are very technical set. They're more upper mids vocal focus. They're kind of clean, they're balanced. They do have a slight metallic timbre when it comes to the treble, so that could be a turn off to some people. But considering the price, which is like under 200 bucks, I think the technical performance alone justify its price. Is very good value. They're still pretty good in 2026. I would still give these a shot. And speaking of vocals, we got the Orchestra Lite, and there's actually two versions of these. Now the older one is a more neutral, balanced, clean, vocal-centric approach, and then we have the newer version that I also got. It's more V-shaped now. I don't know why. Maybe it's to differentiate from the Orchestra 2, but assuming this is a newer version, I'm gonna say skip. There's better option for the price. Next, we got the KIWIEARS Astrals. These are a very technically capable IEM. They're pretty good for the value. You can get these for like 250 bucks. They're dynamic, they're fun, but they're also well balanced at the same time. Could be a little bit sharp for some people, but not quite as sharp as the DUNU 142s. I think this is a very good benchmark set at around 250 bucks on sale. So I'm gonna say these are actually pretty top tier even in 2026 if you want an all-rounder. But moving on, we're not quite finished. We got the KIWIEARS Septet. These are a more unique kind of tonality. They have a airy, sparkly, bright leaning sound, but they're not peaky. They're not overly energetic and aggressive in your face. They're pretty smooth. It's open back. It feels very spacious. They're also very technical, especially when it comes to the micro nuances, the K, the cymbal crashes in the treble region. So overall, I'm gonna say these are a pretty solid option overall, but it's just that it has a more niche tonality. And then lastly, for our last KIWIEARS IEM, we have the Orchestra 2. This has a clean, balanced, vocal-centric, mid-range centric approach. They're basically what the original Orchestra Lite was, but just a little bit more detail. If you're looking for a clean, balanced sound, these are pretty decent set. I would personally wait for these to go on sale for around 300 at around the same price as the binary 321s. If you get them retail, not on sale, they're still pretty decent. Pretty good, vocal, clean, balanced benchmark. Moving on, we got some LETSHUOER IEM, and starting off with the Cadenza 4. This has a neutral, balanced, but slightly bright leaning, airy, and smooth tonality. I really dig these for female vocals. I think if you want just pure female vocals, these are probably the best at its price. So yeah, very good. Highly recommend checking these out. Now, as for the S15, this is a fuller version of the Cadenza 4, but less vocal emphasis, a little bit, I guess, just more balanced, more neutral in the sound than the slightly brighter and airier version of the Cat 4. Personally, I like the Cat 4 more, both in terms of tonality and value. I think the S15 are just a little bit too expensive at 320-30 bucks. I'm gonna say skip these because there's just a lot of better options if you want a cleaner, more balanced kind of signature. Next, we got some Moondrop IEMs, and starting off, we got the Kato Blue version. Nobody should be buying this in 2026. The drivers are outdated. It is very overpriced. You can get this the same performance for around like 100 bucks or even cheaper. And most importantly, the Condense would be a better offering if you are trying to go for Moondrop, which is our next IEM, the Condense. Now, this isn't as bad as the Kato. It is updated with a better driver, and it is smooth, and the build is nice, but the sound, it's not unique enough. It's an all-rounder. It's kind of like Harmonish. So for the Cadenza, I would say wait for these to go on sale for around like 150. Then after those, we got the Moondrop Blessing 3. This is a neutral leaning, balanced, clean set that is slightly bright when it comes to the transients. It is a little bit sharp and can be a little bit fatiguing in the overall sound, but technically it is pretty good. You can get these for under 300. I think on sale they are still decent if you're looking for a just like vocal centric, clean, neutral set, but retail stock, I would not buy these. Then finally, we have the Moondrop Clinical Dusk. This is similar to the Pilgrim in the sound. They are both going for that, balanced, all-rounder performance, but the main difference is that the DUSK has a little bit of that like treble sizzle in the overall sound, whereas the Pilgrim feels a little bit cleaner, fuller, more natural in the timbre. I think if you get these on sale for $250 or like $260, $280, I think it's still okay, because performance wise it is still pretty good. It's just that for the tonality that it's going for, again, you can just get the EP321. I think it's just a better version of both the Pilgrim and the DUSK. Alright, real quick, I almost forgot about the Harman. This is another Harman 2019 IEM, but it's now $350. Do not get this. This is very overpriced. You can get the Nova, Chopin, Super Mix for all half the price of this. Skip. Moving on, we got some Meyer stuff. Starting off with the D62. These are a pretty dynamic, contrasty, slight V-shaped sound. Pretty fun in the overall, you know, tonality. Now, it can be a little bit sharp with these stock tips. I recommend these with Senkai wides. They help, you know, just smooth out the upper mids and the treble a bit. Makes the balance better and pretty enjoyable overall. I would say technically these are pretty good for the price. You can get these for like $200. I would wait for these to go on sale because again, it can be a little bit sharp at times. And then after those, we have the SL224 from Meyer as well. These are basically a slightly better version of the Daybreaks. I don't think they're very good when it comes to value because you can't just get the Daybreaks. I don't know if I would even get these on sale unless you can get for like around the same price, like, you know, 160, maybe 180 on sale. Moving on, we got some peanut IEMs, and starting off with the Vortex. This is a single DD for $200. Similar like the Kato, this is a bit outdated. It does sound good. It sounds better than the Kato in my opinion. This is basically a mini Dark Magician for those who know the Dark Magician. It's well balanced. It has some fullness of the sound. The vocals pop out, extends well. The treble extension is pretty good. Overall, it's a pretty good sounding IEM, just that it's a little bit pricey nowadays. I would say wait for these to go on sale. Next, we got the Pinan Dome, and this is a very vocal centric IEM. The vocals are forward, they pop out, it has a lot of power. You do need some scaling, but I will say that it's enjoyable for the vocals alone. As an all-rounder, it's not very good when it comes to value. You know, when it comes to performance, you can get better stuff at its price range. And then when it comes to vocals, you can get equally as good vocals for a lot cheaper, right? So I think it's a little bit outdated. I'm gonna put this in better option category. Unless you can get these for like very cheap, I'm gonna say skip on these. Then finally, we have the Quattros, and this is a very dynamic, engaging, slight V-shape to V-shape sound depending on your ears. It's a pretty fun, engaging listen. Overall, I would say for the price of $400, definitely wait for these to go on sale. I've seen these go for $350, but even then, that's a bit pricey. Ideally, I'm gonna say around $250, $200, similar to the DYNAQUATTROs. But it is what it is, so if you can find it for that range, get it. If not, pass on these. They're good, it's just that they're a bit pricey. But moving on, we got the Punch Audio Martellos. These are a pretty fun bass headset. They're well balanced in the vocals, the treble extension, you get a lot of detail for the amount of bass that you have, and then the low end, obviously well textured, resolving, tactile, the impact, the slam, the rumble is out there. For the price, you can get these for like under $300. I think they are a pretty good bass headset in 2026, and yeah, these get a rec. Then after those, we got some ZIIGAAT IEMs, and starting off with the EA1000s. These are a musical, slightly bright leading, sparkly set, very good for female vocals, good for ballads, pretty full in the low end. Bass texture is good as well. Only downside is that it can get a little bit sharp in the treble depending on the song, and the price is also, you know, it's like $220 for a single DD in 2026. I'm gonna say wait for these to go on sale because they do still sound good for female vocals. Next, we got the new Super Mix 5, and these are a bit of a mixed bag because objectively there is nothing like wrong with it. Like, it sounds pretty smooth in the treble, extension is there, the vocals, you know, they're pretty clean, the bass texture is also well done, it has that slight bounce from the bone conduction. It's just that the price is a bit much, and then the sound isn't that unique. I'm gonna say wait for these to go on sale for, you know, around the same price as the Super Mix 4, maybe a little bit more, like 160 to 180. And then finally, we have the ET142. They're planar. Now this is very similar to the original S12. The main difference is that it's a little bit smoother and slightly more, you know, technical. But aside from that, it has that similar bright, leaning, all-rounder sound. It does have that planar timbre. And for over $200, I do think it costs a bit much. You can get a lot of good stuff at around like 160, like the S12 Ultras, for example, right? So yeah, wait for these to go on sale. But that aside, moving on to some soft ear stuff, we have the Studio 4s first. These are a very good balance, all-rounder. There's nothing wrong with it. It's pretty natural in the timbre. I don't know how they made the bass texture so bassy, like it's a BA for the low end, right? Very good for vocals as well as an all-rounder. It's just that it's a bit pricey stock. I think it's like over 400 bucks. So yeah, definitely wait for these to go on sale. Get these for around like 300 to 350. I think they are still pretty decent for that price. Then after those, we got the SOFTEAR Volume S. This is very good for male vocals, pretty good scaling, fullness in the low end, extension, power when it comes to the vocals. Treble is pretty smooth as well. Wait for these to go on sale because when it comes to the technical performance, it can be better for the price. But overall, when it comes to tonality, male vocals, very good sale. But yeah, get these on sale. Next, we got some TANCHJIM IEMs, and starting off with the Origin, this is going to be a skip because you can literally get the Fission for almost like half the price, you know, half the price on sale. It's using the same driver, very similar sound. The only difference is that the Origin has a fancier, you know, shell, the accessories, the cable is better. But aside from that, same driver, very similar tuning. If you like AB these, you're not gonna hear much of a difference. So yeah, I'm gonna say skip on the Origin. But if you are a vocal lover, I would definitely give the TANCHJIM and Effect Force a try. They are more of a niche set. They're not the most technical at its price, and it does have a markup because, you know, it has the Effect cable collab. Overall, they are very powerful, clean, and smooth for vocals, especially for female vocals. I think if you are a vocal lover, if you have a lot of ballads, you're gonna really like these. But for most people, I'm gonna say a pass for them. But for vocal lovers, I would say get these on sale. Then lastly, we got the new Soda, and these are a pretty good overall package. They look nice, accessories are nice, sound pretty inoffensive, it's very smooth. If you want something laid back, neutral-ish, but with a good sub-bass punch, these are a pretty good set. It's just that at 300 bucks, I'd rather get the Fission because that's half the price. And yeah, it doesn't have the sub-bass and maybe not as resolving as the Sodas, but like tonality wise, they are very similar because they're both going for the TANCHJIM sound. Wait for these, get these on sale for around like 200, 250. I think that's a pretty good price. I almost forgot about the Fola. This is basically the same as the Origin, same driver, very similar sound, but a little bit cheaper than the Origin, but still not as good value-wise as the Fission. So yeah, like the Origin, I will skip on the Fola and get the Fission. But moving on, we got some Tongzu stuff. We have the HBB Heydays, and these have a slightly bright, clean, you know, very technical, you know, I guess you can say resolving sound to the overall playback. They do have a bit of that planar timbre, but overall, I seen these go on sale for like 150. At that price for the performance, it is still very good. So yeah, still a rec if you can get these on sale. But unfortunately for the Wuxi Tian Legend, this is just way too sharp, way too boosted when it comes to the treble. Like the planar timbre, the sizzle, the peakiness, the sharpness on this is just too much. I don't know what they were thinking with this. Like, it is very technical, I guess, very detailed, but unless you have some form of like high frequency hearing damage, I would really not recommend these. I'm gonna say these are a pass for most people unless you can handle that amount of treble. That aside, we got some THIEAUDIO IEMs next, and starting with the Hype 4s, I'm gonna skip the Hype 2s because they're discontinued. You can't really buy them anymore. There's no point of me, really, recommending them. So Hype 4s, these are a bassy all-rounder with very smooth treble with the Sonian BAs. They are very well done in the higher frequencies, and the bass texture, the soundstage, dynamics, contrast, still very good in 2026. Even without it going on sale, I would recommend these if you're looking for a bassy all-rounder. And as for its older brother, the Hype 4 Mark IIs, these are a lot more technical and they're gonna be a lot brighter than the OGs. And for the amount of detail and performance you're getting at $350 on sale, nothing really beats this when it comes to performance, which is why I'm gonna put this in top tier. Next, we got the original XENNS T Pros. These have a thick bassy, but still pretty balanced in the vocals and the treble. They have the authority, the fullness, that slight huskiness when it comes to the low end, but it's still pretty technical, all things considered, that it is a bassy all-rounder. I think it's still pretty good even without it going on sale. If you're looking for something that is very thick, then these would be a pretty solid pick in 2026. Moving on, we got some Yang IEMs next. We have the Canon Pro 2. These have a slight V-shaped sound depending on the tuning configuration. You can get these to be pretty upper mid focused, you know, pretty mid-range centric. The detail, the tech is there. It's just that at around, I think it's like 350 or around 300 on sale. There are better tuned IEMs like the Astrals, you know, the CRESCENT, the ODYSSEYs. They're still decent if you want the option of the switches, but I would say wait for these to go on sale. Then as for the Canon Pros, these are a very different sounding set. They're a lot smoother, a lot airier. They have a more balanced and neutral presentation to the sound. They're more laid back, less, you know, V-shaped than the Canon Pro 2s. Overall, I think these are, like, technically they're more refined. Are a bit pricey because they're like around 400 bucks. So ideally, wait for these to go on sale around 350 if you're looking for a clean, balanced, smooth, airy sound. Give these a shot. These are pretty decent. And similarly, I would also wait for the Yunnan Chit to go on sale. These share a similar sound to the Canon Pros. They're balanced, they are smooth, they scale pretty good. Main difference is that the mid bass is a little bit fuller but less, you know, rumble extension in the sub bass, and the vocals pop out a little bit more. Overall, performance wise, I think you can find better stuff for cheaper and at around the same price. They do look very nice and the packaging is overall premium feeling IEM. Then lastly, we got the ZIIGAAT stuff, and starting off with the HVB Arcadias. These have a very thick, low end heavy and slightly dark leaning tonality. They don't sound very good at mid to low volumes. I would definitely recommend like cranking these up. Overall, it's a pretty decent set. It's just maybe not cup of tea for everyone. I would personally wait for these to go on sale for maybe like around 170. I think that's a pretty decent price for these. Then after those, we got the original Odysseys, and these are going into top tier. Very musical, good contrast, good dynamics. Bass texture is pretty insane for the price. You can find these for under 200 bucks. Detail is pretty good for the price as well. Overall, just a very good solid package. And these are a lot of people's favorite for a reason, because they're very immersive. Takes you on that musical Odyssey as the name suggests. However, the Odyssey 2s on the other hand, it's a bit more of a mixed bag because it does sound decent. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It's basically a better version of the Daybreak, slightly more resolving. You know, the bass texture, the slam is better, but it's also like 100 bucks more than the Daybreaks. So I'm gonna say wait for these to go on sale because you can find cheaper stuff. But if you do want a more premium version of that sound, then I guess find these on sale. Next, we got the Synco Tres, and these are actually pretty slept on because I think they're still pretty good in 2026. The sub bass texture, the mid bass, the impact, the tactility is there. The vocals are not too shouty. The treble extension is enough. Overall technical performance also pretty decent for the price. You can find these for around like $200 on sale. So yeah, even without it going on sale, it's still pretty good. These are a pretty fun, enjoyable musical all-rounder set. Then after those, we got the Daschinkos, and these are a more of a, I don't want to say bass set, but they do have a lot more bass than the Synco Tres and closer to the DYNAQUATTROs, the Da Vinci's, and more of that bassy all-rounder set. It's still pretty enjoyable in 2026. Personally, I would probably wait for these to go on sale for like maybe around 200, but it's still a very good set for hip-hop, you know, R&B, rock, if you want a lot of low-end slam. Then after those, we got the Crescent, and this has a warm and sparkly sound, pretty technical for the price. You can find these for like $240, $230 on sale, but even without it going on sale, these are a pretty musical, very well tuned. It is a bit warm in the sound, but it's more unique because of that as well. It does have that slight sauce in the treble, and yeah, if you want something warm and sparkly, give these a shot. Then after the Crescent, we got the Horizons. These have a slightly bright leaning sound. They're balanced, they're clean, they're very well extended in the treble. You get a lot of detail, very good performance for the price. And similar to the Binary EP321, if you're looking for something that is a clean, balanced all-rounder, but you want something a little bit brighter, I would put these right up to the Binaries, even a little bit more technical than the Binaries, because these are very good when it comes to value. Then after those, we got the Lunas, and these have a warm and airy presentation. They got that dreamy, nostalgic vibe, very unique in the tonality. I would get these even if they don't go on sale, but because we're capping it at $350, I guess get these at $350. They are just more unique and different than all the other, meta all-rounder sets. Then lastly, for our final IEM, we have the ZIIGAAT ARCANIS. This is my favorite vocal set under 500 bucks. It's clean, it's got the power, it's got that slight hump in the treble that gives you that sizzle and goosebump to the consonants to the vocals. Now if you're looking for an all-rounder, I would probably skip these because they just lack the low end to balance out the treble, the vocals. Maybe get these on sale because they are 400, goes on sale to 350. But if you are a vocal lover like myself, I would say these are very top tier. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the Yang Baker. So the Baker is basically the male vocal version of the Arcanus. It sounds very similar, grasps very similar to the Arcanus, but it just has like 2 to 3 dBs more low end when it comes to the bass. It's gonna feel a bit fuller in the vocals, huskier, better balanced as an all-rounder. But if you are a vocal lover, the Arcanus is still going to be better. If you're looking for an all-rounder, you might as well get the Astros or something cheaper at around like $250. So wait for these to go on sale. If you can find them for around $300 to $350, they still get a pass overall. But aside from that, that is it for this video. I hope you found this review and ranking helpful. My throat is completely dead. But yeah, let me know what IEMs that you're looking to upgrade from, what IEMs you like in this price range, and what you would recommend. And thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.
Shout out to Dom Q, Rox Cat, B Urac, Disco Scaldus, Walker Standard, Patrick, User, Contain Guava Juice Gains, Mr. Gorillas, Paulie J, Gis Sang Young, Christopher Jackson, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, 777ZK, PM the Wizard, Obi, Triple Extended, Matt Herc, TR8107, Shrimp Backlay, FKSRG, Cousin Fat Fat, Julius Phillip, Dead Riddle, Gatoy, Nico Gabriel, Addy, Michael, Trackstar, Raphael, I'm J-Rack, Ryan, Ori, Edwin, Torcog, Effinadim, Rash, Chimika, Javier, Gilbog, Ocean, AK131, BC Knight, MN Gelato, Watjo, Vitor, Unbalanced, Tuna, Robert, Polar, Drave Gaming, JRX, Samuel, John Simon, Kaminari, Archie, The Surgeon, Evan, The Audio Freak, Forrest, Ninja Watcher, Brandon Fish, Sir Ison, JJ, Skiller, Alexa, Ali Music, JPLA, Blue Nerd, and ATGBB. Thank you guys so much for the support.